What's the chances of you, Cam, and Mace getting back?
I don't think it's really gonna happen. We two different type of people. Always have. Competitive nature always been first before friendship. Remember, Cam, my man. It's not.
So it's not you.
I took the position of my position.
You were fanned out and you begged to come to your house after you heard all these mixtapes. That's how you got in. You was so cool. And we was like, yo, Jomo's a nice guy. Mace like, yo, I think I'll teach him how to rap. Mace actually taught you how to rap. Literally. He taught you how to rap.
Mace need to go on a diet. He need to get his life together. He need to go to the doctor and get a physical. He looked terrible, bad body, back.
And you are a guardian angel and designer. What you talking about? You are from the Bronx, bro. You are not from Harlem. Why do you keep thinking that you are from Harlem, bro?
They say every empire hides its secrets. But what if the truth about Jim Jones isn't buried in the shadows? It's built out of illusion. What if the man who's been screaming for years that he built Maze and Cameron's legacy was never the mastermind at all, just the apprentice playing dress-up? Picture this. The self-proclaimed capo of Dipset, the man who swore he called the shots, wasn't leading the charge.
Mace taught me how to rap, and Cam always made sure I was on every single album he had. He was like, boy, once you figure out how to rap the same way you act in these streets, it's gonna work for you. Just keep going. And that's all so I always gotta give credit to where credit is due. There would be no Jim Jones if it wasn't for them guys.
He was studying the moves, learning from the very ones he now swears he taught. Before the Chains, before We Fly High, had the city screaming ballin'. Before the Dipset empire became a Harlem anthem. There was a truth that got buried under ego and glitter. And that truth started with Maze, the preacher turned rapper, the Harlem icon who once called Jim his little brother. Maze didn't just guide him. He handed him a formula.
What's the chances of you, Cam, and Mace getting back?
I don't think it's really gonna happen. We two different type of people. Always have. Competitive nature always been first before friendship. Remember, Cam, my man. It's not.
So it's not you.
I took the position of my position. Cam is my partner. I'm not his artist. I was the CEO of Diplomats. I made Diplomats with him. I was with him for every bit of his journey. I held him down. I took that position of holding him down. I'm not his soldier. You heard? I'm his partner. But in the journey that we had to take, I had to do what was needed. Well, I played my position. And that's why I'm able to be here and have a conversation with you, because I did what I was supposed to do.
The very blueprint Jim now claims he invented. So what if the story we've been fed, the rise of Jim Jones, the capo, the hustler, was really a myth built to sell a legacy? What if he didn't build Dipset from the ground up, but simply reap the rewards of those who did? Because every empire has two versions, the one they tell the world, and the one they pray no one ever finds out. And in this story, the cracks are starting to show. Back when Dipset had Harlem in a chokehold, when diplomatic immunity echoed through every block, everyone assumed Jim was one of the masterminds. But here's the twist. The real architects, Maze and Cameron, already had Harlem on fire before Jim ever spit a verse. The movement was
Emery that had a Puma creative well, and it ain't even like jail back on his plate no time soon, and they ain't never going back. You know what's gangster? Biggs is gangster. Biggs come home from jail, still got a stake in Rockefeller, whatever him and Jay-Z worked out, that's cool. Or whatever, he got St. John as artist, he working with Drink Champs, that's gangster. Not throwing back in the pot to eventually do something that could get them back in the same situation. And I'm not saying, man, if you got something lined up for Matrix, I'm shut the, my bad, I apologize, but I don't want that for Melly, because I get out Melly. Whether he care about me like he used to or not, I still my love for Melly. So hopefully that'll go right. But this is gonna be the last time I address this. I did this 10 years ago. A lot of people seem like this is new business. When Jim wanted to go to Roc Nation, he sat there and was crying on Funkmaster Flex.
Moving long before he joined the parade. Somewhere along the line, though, the narrative flipped. The guy who was once hanging in the background started acting like he built the circle himself. But Harlem doesn't forget. And now, the whispers in those uptown streets are getting louder. Because in Harlem, real recognizes real. And you don't have to scream, "I'm from Harlem," if you truly live it. Word is, Jim played the long game, Loyalty, timing, and a lot of talking. Slowly, he wrote himself into the script until one day he was a star of a story he never actually wrote. But that mask is cracking now. Jim's been everywhere, podcasts, interviews, radio spots, doing everything he can to keep the illusion alive. But no matter how many times he tells it, the truth always finds a mic. The ones who actually put him on, they're done being quiet. They're calling him out line by line, lie by lie, because you can't rewrite Harlem's history. Not when the people who lived it are still alive to correct you. Then came the moment that shook the entire city. Cameron finally broke his silence. No yelling, no diss tracks, just 4 words, calm and cold. You were our fan. That was it. Harlem stopped breathing. In that instant, the myth of Jim Jones shattered. Cam looked into the camera and stripped the illusion clean. He said Jim wasn't the boss. He was a kid begging to be part of the movement. The moment he added that Maze taught Jim how to rap, it was over. Because in Harlem, you can't call yourself a king when the teacher still walks the streets. Cam and Maze didn't just challenge his story. They erased it. And the deeper the internet dug, the uglier it got. Old clips, vintage interviews, Jim himself admitting Maze showed him how to rap. Fast forward a few years, and suddenly he's a CEO who built Dipset from the ground up? That's not ambition. That's delusion. And Harlem doesn't respect delusion. In a city where respect is a currency, Jim's credibility just went bankrupt overnight. And now, Cam's got receipts. Not rumors, proof. Old tapes, unseen footage, direct quotes. Every bit of evidence, locked and loaded. He's not ranting. He's building a case. Calm, steady, factual. The kind of confidence that comes from knowing the truth's on your side. Because Jim's downfall won't come from his haters. It's coming from his own mouth. The same man who bragged about being the boss just got caught confessing he was a student. And in Harlem, that's not just a slip-up. That's a confession. One the streets won't ever forget. Jim didn't make Maze. Maze made Jim. And just like that, one clip flipped 20 years of hip-hop history upside down. Every boss move, every story about holding down Cameron, it all hits different now. Because the empire wasn't his creation. It was his opportunity. Harlem remembers who built what, and right now, the streets are watching this fall in real time, the same way they watch the rise. In Harlem, respect isn't about volume. It's about truth. And once your truth gets exposed, there's no encore, no comeback tour, just silence, and the echo of an empire collapsing on borrowed ground. That's the danger with chronic storytellers. Once fame hits, they start rewriting every chapter. Suddenly, they're the hero, the boss, the mastermind, the one who put everyone else on. But when you start editing moments that other people actually lived through, you hand them the weapon that'll destroy you. And that's exactly where Jim's standing right now. Cam and Maze didn't need diss tracks. They're using his own contradictions as ammunition. That viral clip, it's everywhere. Harlem's not laughing because it's funny. They're laughing because the truth finally caught up. And the worst part? Jim can't even fight back. How do you argue with your own voice on camera? How do you claim you built legends when you literally admitted they built you? It's over. Checkmate. But just when it seemed like the book was closed, things took a wild turn. While Jim's been busy burying himself with contradictions, the real witnesses, the ones who saw Dipset rise from the ground up, started speaking out. One of them said it plain. When I met Cam and Jim, they were super close. The Diplomats was already a name. I don't claim I made Dipset, but I did create the identity. The Dipset, those 2 words, that was me. That one statement, it cracked the story wide open. Because now, the truth isn't just coming from Cam and Maze. It's coming from people who were actually there when the empire was built. And once those voices start talking, the narrative begins to unravel fast. Then Juelz Santana stepped up, not with ego, not with venom, but with calm honesty. You could hear it in his tone, grounded, nostalgic, real. Real ones don't scream to prove a point. They drop facts and let the truth echo. Santana painted those early Dipset days, the grind, the brotherhood, the hunger before the chaos. But then came Choke, No Joke, and that's when things got messy. He didn't speak from rumor. He spoke from memory. "I was there," he said. "I saw it." He remembered being at Jim's album release party, the night Jim had the crowd around him, while Cam stood off to the side with just a few people, watching. That moment stuck with him, because for the first time, it looked like Jim had the spotlight. And that changed everything. Choke didn't just confirm one side. He complicated the entire story. According to him, Jim did hold some real power. He wasn't a total fraud. He was part of the machine, just not the man who built it. He wasn't powerless, but he wasn't the boss either. He was middle management, a soldier who started believing he was the general. That's where everything went wrong. Jim took a piece of the truth and inflated it into an empire. Then came the line that split the internet right down the middle. Choke said there would be no Dipset without Jim. That one sentence sent shockwaves through the culture, because if that's true, then Jim wasn't just a passenger. He was part of the engine. Choke broke it down perfectly. Jim was the gang banger. Cam wasn't blood. Juelz wasn't either. All the muscle, that was Jim. Cam was the Jay-Z, the artist, the frontman. But Jim, he was the street structure. In other words, Cam might have been the face, but Jim gave Dipset its backbone. And that's the paradox. Jim wasn't the founder, but he wasn't irrelevant. He was essential. A key player who forgot he was part of a team and started acting like he owned the franchise. That's what makes this whole saga so wild. Because in the end, both sides are telling the truth, just from different angles. The problem? Only one version will survive in the public's memory. And right now, Harlem's choosing which one gets written in ink. So if you're watching this, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe, because this story is far from over. Do you think Jim can ever bounce back, or is this the final chapter in the Dipset deception? Either way, stay locked in, keep it real, and remember, in hip-hop, the truth doesn't die. It just waits for the right moment to clap back.